on, folks? Welcome back to Four Corners of the Galley. I'm your host PBO, and you're joining me on another edition of Power Season 5. We're up to episode 2, Damage Control. Alright, so this is my recap review of episode 2, Damage Control. So let me just explain to you how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to kick off the beginning, do the starting points, and then I'm going to kick it off into each person's storylines, because the one thing that Power has done this year is they have a lot of storylines going on. I think a little too many storylines. I mean, right now I'm counting 9 to 10 different characters. They're following around and doing different storylines. That's a lot. When this show is at its best, it's following 5, maybe 6 people at the most, and giving you sprinkling in other stuff. And that's what I wanted to get down to, which means that I think there's going to be a lot more death this season. And I would not be shocked if Ghost dies this year. Because definitely either Tommy or him are going down. Because it feels like they got to take another piece out of this group to make it suffer a little more to make this go on. So, alright, so let's kick this sucker off. So the episode starts off, and we got the St. Patrick's in full mourning. Tasha's broken down. She's in Raina's room. She's full on crying. You got Ghost. He can't handle anything, so he's off in his own distance listening to his mom cry. And then of course Tyreek, he's lost in his own little world. I don't even know if he's really suffering. You can't tell. The one thing I can say, it's hard to tell Tyreek's emotions this season. He was way better last year and you could see where he was going. This year he just looks like he's like not sad about Raina dying. He's kind of in his own, I don't know, it's really weird the way they're playing this. So he's lost in his own little world, and they're completely in shambles. Where last episode they were all holding it together strong, this episode it is all coming apart. I mean, this is all coming apart. So it kicks over to Angela, and Angela calls a meeting with with their inner DA's office, and she's trying to figure out what happened with this meeting and why is there 2 dead head big gangsters that they're trying to figure out, and they're trying to figure out the connect. The other guys aren't listening to her. She's kind of like scoping out the room and trying to see where everything is. And these 2 points basically kick into bigger storylines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the smaller storylines that really don't affect what's going on now, but I don't think the overall picture, and the ones that are less. And obviously I know right now they're giving us a lot of information because they're giving us all the things that are going to affect the main characters in the future. I don't know if they're all going to affect it, but I feel like that's the information they're giving. That's what I'm hoping for. So we're going to start with the John Mock and Proctor timeline. So in the John Mock and Proctor timeline, or characters following around, we meet back up with Mock and the other DA members, and they're planning a secret meeting without Angela where they're physically trying to take her down. I mean, they are trying to figure out any way to take down Angela because they feel like Angela knows that James St. Patrick is Ghost, and he's hiding it, and they want to get her because they don't like that she's the boss and pass them all up, and all the other nonsense that's been going on for the last 4 seasons. So they really want her. So Mock has a plan, and he thinks he can circumvent Angela. So he goes and visits Proctor at a bar and already tries to flip Proctor right there. Proctor ain't having none of that. They have their little dialogue, but he ain't having none of that. It doesn't make a difference. Mock knows at this point, he's like, all right, you're not going to bite. All right, I'll go a different route. He goes and finds Mrs. Tasha's side piece lawyer, Mr. Terry, and starts getting at him. And Terry don't want nothing to do with him either. So Mock figures out another way because Terry's like, look, I'm not going to do it. And Mock's trying to get at him like, why didn't Proctor call you as his character witness? Because obviously they had differences of opinions in the last seasons, the whole deal. So he gets subpoenaed, and now he has to be a part of the state against Proctor thing. So that's all crazy. So they end up at Proctor's hearing. Proctor's sitting there in front of all the different, I want to say lawyers or judges. I don't know exactly how that all works. And he's pleading his case. John Mock walks in, and he's basically bad-mouthing Mock the whole time and talking about how it's one delusional person's mind and how he's going to take him down. And then he brings Terry in, and you can already see in Proctor's face, he's freaking out because he knows that they had beefs and things aren't the way they go. Terry comes up as a character witness for the state and basically does not help Proctor at all. It makes it real uneven. It can go either way. It looks 50-50, and this is exactly what Mock wants, because Mock wants it to go bad, so Proctor can't be a lawyer. Then he leans on Proctor to give up information regarding St. Patrick and Tommy, because he's not a lawyer anymore, and none of that matters, so he can become a lawyer again. Mock's trying to play this play. I don't know if it's going to work. They make it seem like sometimes it's going to work, and then they make it seem sometimes like it's going to all blow up in their face. So this is going to have to be a see as we go kind of thing. The next storyline that I'm gonna jump into is actually Dre, and Dre has actually a couple little elements into it, but Dre does a lot of his own stuff because they're just kind of chasing after him this whole time. So the first time we meet up with Dre's going up to see Diego Jimenez, and he's up in his apartment, and Diego's, getting it in with one of his girls, and he's making Dre watch him as he's doing his thing, and Dre tries to leave, but he makes him uncomfortably stay. They have a discussion basically about the whole Torres business, or basically they start talking about the ports and the 83 keys that go missing, and then they talk about the Torres and how there's a struggle for leadership at the top, and he needs him to take care of that. So he's like, all right, I got it. He's like, all right, I'll take care of this. He's like, yeah, you better get on this because I don't want to hear no nonsense. So Dre goes about his thing. He sets up basically a meet. He's there with his boy 2-Bit, and he meets up with Cristobal to discuss how to handle this Torres thing. They start throwing out ideas, and 2-Bit comes up with an idea about using the younger guy to take over because he can control him. Dre likes his idea, overrides Cristobal, and so he's cool. So, 2-Bit's feeling all good because he gave a good idea to his boy. So they're going to go that route. He's going to, hire some outside shooters so that they don't come back on them for obviously all the different stuff. I mean, the one thing you can love about power is they're ruthless. That's the beauty of it. I mean, they all fighting over this power, so they're ruthless when it comes to everything. So we cut to 2-Bit, and 2-Bit's riding with Spanky, and him and Spanky are riding around, and all of nowhere, they notice a Torres leader. So what does 2-Bit do? He rolls up on him and kills him, because he thinks he's doing good by his boy. They go back and meet up with 2-Bit goes back and meets up with Dre and tells him he does it, and Dre done lost it. He's like, what the hell is your problem? I can't have this come back on me. I can't have my boy kill one of the Torres, and then you could just start a giant war. He don't understand it. Dre pissed beyond belief. He just kicks his boy out, and it goes away. And he then goes to see the new young leader of the Torres, and he basically puts it on him, and Cristobal kind of gives him that little edge, like, yeah, you tight, that's tight. So now it's off of Dre, and if there's any beef, the Torres killed their own Torres, and that's just the way it is because they got a new leader anyway, so it makes no difference. So Dre sneaks out of that one by pushing it off. That's just kind of the way it goes sometimes with it. After that point, basically, you see him back at the club, and he's running the club, and one of his waitresses comes up to him and says that somebody doesn't want to pay. He goes up to the VIP, and it's Jimenez up there, and he's up there having a good old time, talking about how he's done a good job and great things, and he wants to reward him. So he tells him to take one of his girls back to the bathroom so he can reward him. So Dre is not feeling this, so he goes and takes him. And they go to the bathroom. He's like, look, how much I got to pay you? And this girl's telling him, look, man, I don't know what you tripping on. He going to smell me. And if we don't do something, we both going to get hurt. So he obliged and starts, they start going at it. And then you could already tell what was happening. Jimenez wanted to watch. So he pops out of nowhere, starts watching, telling him, I'm watching now. Dre freaks out and bones out, and you never see him again. He's just flustered, but he has to put up with it because this is his connection, and this is part of the game. If he wants to be the big dog, he's going to have to deal with all the wildness that Jimenez is going to throw at him. So that's where we leave Dre. He's still cool. He's still running things. He's got Jimenez as his protection, and he's moving forward. Now, he is getting followed and watched, which we'll get to in a second, but he feels like he's doing fine, and he's got his own, he's clearing up all of his little issues like he needs to. We're going to kick over to Kanan. Now, at the beginning, Kanan meets up with Ghost and Tommy. We'll get back to that because that's a bigger thing, and they all meet up. The next time we see Kanan is him and Ghost are spying on 2-Bit and Dre, and they're doing surveillance. So they're doing surveillance on their own after one night, and Kanan basically starts chopping it up with Ghost about Tyreek, and he's a good boy, and it's just a weird, and you can see Ghost in his face. He don't want to listen to anything Kanan got to say about his boy. Like, man, the whole problem is you. And I know you push it off on the Dre, but he's the reason that all this nonsense happened in the first place with his the other cop that was dirty. The whole deal. I mean, this is all Kanan. So he kind of blows it off, and Kanan really doesn't do much else. The next time we meet up with Kanan, you see Kanan's overall picture, what he's trying to do. He's being close and good, obviously. Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. He's keeping Ghost and Tommy close to him because now he's got a new plan because he knows he can't get at Dre. He's going to try to flip it and take Tommy's business because he accidentally met somebody when they had their first little meeting, which we'll get to in a little bit. But Kanan now obviously has a backup plan, and him and his boys are going to try to take out Tommy and go through his connect. So you already knew Kanan had some plan. I don't know about you, but one of them got to die. I mean, for sure, one's dying. Ghost, Kanan, or Tommy, one of them are dying because I just can't see all three of them making out of this season clean. I just don't see it happening. I just cannot see that happening. All right, so let's kick over to Angela. So Angela has her first meeting with the DA members, and they're talking about catching up with stuff. And then, like I was saying in the first episode, here you go. This is the weirdest thing to me. You got Tasha and Angela having full-blown meetups. I mean, they're meeting up multiple times. I don't know about you, but the ex thing that was sleeping with a man that I know about, and we're supposed to be cool, like, that's some weird nonsense. I get Tasha's coming for a reason. She's trying to clear Tariq of all the things. Angela, I guess, feels bad and just wants, I don't know. She's so in love with James. I think she's just encapsulated by this whole thing, and she feels bad for Raina dying, so she's going along with it. But it's just kind of crazy. At the same time, after all these meetings, different things, she's meeting back up with her DA people, and the case keeps getting better for her regarding the gold gun and finding out intel about Jimenez. She then gets security footage of Jimenez and sees that he's actually in town, and now realizes that Jimenez is the one that did the kill with the gold gun. So she's all pumped up, and she's actually got a little clout with the main DA lady, and she's earning some stuff. It's a little wild. There's other things that are going on, Angela, but we're going to put it on Ghost because it's more of him dealing with that. So we'll get back to that in a second. So then we get to Tommy, and then we'll get to Ghost. So Tommy actually has a big chunk in this episode. He has a lot going on. So we meet back up with Tommy. It's at the beginning of the episode, right after we see the St. Patrick's having a horrible morning. And he goes to the house, and who's there but Keisha? So him and Keisha have a one-on-one because he's been avoiding her and not talking to her. And Keisha's, it's the one bad part about Lala. Her role gets a little bigger, and then they shrink it down. I don't know if they're going to give her something else to do later, but she always gets to seem a regulated role into what she's doing. They kind of have their thing. He tells her, I owe you, and then goes about their thing. So now Ghost, Kanan, and Tommy are all meeting up, and they have this big meetup, and they're basically talking about how everything went wrong with Dre. What happened, all these different things. Kanan's telling how his boys said he booked, and he heard gunshots, and a couple things happened, and Dre got away. So Dre's still alive. At the same time they're having this meet, out of nowhere, the dude Jason Mock shows up, and this is the guy that Tommy hooked up with in Chicago, trying to run some drugs. He's like, "Oh man, I run his drugs." So he's pissed off because Tommy was supposed to promise him the LA port and take care of it. That didn't go right. His boys get killed. Keys go missing, and he's pissed. And then he also told him to stop working with Ghost. He's like, obviously you didn't listen to nothing. So basically, Tommy comes up with a plan like, we'll kill the Jimenez. He's like, all right, you do that, and we're back in business. And then he goes, I guess you can't stop working with Ghost, so you can work with Ghost some more. So now he's stuck with Ghost. But at the same time, the best line of the show, and the best line for me is, and he goes, who the fuck is this guy? He's talking about Kanan. That's exactly the truth. Kanan's just like this little guy that just runs through at different points. I thought that was great. So Tommy's got to deal with this new nonsense now. And at the same time, his boy Sammy picks him up and takes him to go see Carmine, one of the shooters, who's already badly wounded. His other boy is already dead, and he's got a big old bloodshot wound. And he's freaking out. So they get a doctor to come. They're going to get a doctor to come back to Carmine to take care of him. He then has to go see his dad about this whole mess in prison. So then he goes to see his dad about this mess. Tommy's used to being gangster that can do whatever he wants. Him and Ghost run around the city and do whatever they want. They don't care about circumstances. Well, now he's more messing with the mafia. And when he's messing with the Italians, you got to follow those trainers. You got to follow that rule. And it's like the army. So he goes to see his father, who's been there all the time for the Italians. And he's like, look, you need to go with your hat in your hand. You need to go back to Vince. Tell him you did this and this is your fault. And you need to get this, take whatever he gives you. Tommy agrees. He's like, all right. So him and Sammy go back with the doctor to go meet with Carmine. Carmine's dead. So you know this is bad. So Tommy finally agrees to go see Vince. He explains everything. Vince is pretty understanding. Obviously, he's cool about it because his father has put in a lot of work. He's been in the pen. He's never said a word. He's like, look, you're going to pay back this with interest and everything. Tommy's like, I got this. No worries. But then his biggest thing was like, you get the dude that took him out. And he's like, yeah, I took him. So obviously he's lying. Sammy knows he's lying because Dre's still alive. He didn't take nobody out. Sammy backs him, but the minute that Vince leaves, Sammy gives him two to the face, knocks him out cold. Like, don't you ever make me lie. I'm never going to lie for you again, and don't you ever do that. That was for your dad. And just prove to Tommy that you want to play gangster with the mafioso, you got to follow the chain of command, or you will be taken out in a heartbeat. So I wouldn't be shocked if Tommy's the one getting clipped because he does something that crosses the Italians later trying to protect Ghost or something. I could definitely see something like that. All right, now let's kick it over to Ghost. So on the Ghost. So he meets up with Tommy and Kane in the beginning. We all know that. Then he has a couple of things where he meets with Kanan and they go and see Dre. But then he gets a phone call. Then he goes back to, I don't know what club. I've got to refresh myself on the whole club and everything. Season 4 was a lot going on. He meets up with Councilman Tate, and Councilman Tate's trying to convince him to set up an interview with him and Tasha where they offer a reward for the death and the whole deal. He's really trying to play into this whole thing. Ghost tells him, all right, man, I'll go ask Tasha. He goes and asks Tasha. Tasha don't want nothing to do with that, obviously. And she goes, I need grief counseling. He's like, man, I don't need grief counseling. She's like, well, I need grief counseling. They're also having this whole conversation in Raina's room, which is the first time he's been in, and something she can't come out of. So he agrees to go to church counseling because he understands he needs to do good by his wife and make sure things are going well. So they go over to church counseling, and they get there, and they're hearing stories, and Tasha wants to speak, and he doesn't want to let her speak, but he's listening to these horrible stories, and he listens to a story that comes out to play out in the end. They have that. They go back, and they're driving home, and she's pissed off because she wants to express herself, and Ghost is trying to stop her from saying anything, and you're just like, damn, he's being really ruthless. He kicks her out the car, and then once he kicks her out the car, you realize, because he's still in love with Angela, and he starts drunk dialing her. I mean, he calls her, she don't get it. The next time you see him, he's also calling her. He's got he is broken up. This Raina thing has really hurt him, but his true love is Angela, and it's not Tasha, and it's starting to pour through. So this definitely is going to get some parts to it. So finally, Tate comes back and calls Ghost and is like, look, let's just bring you to this fundraiser. We can spruce it up and everything will be good, and Tasha agrees to that. They go to this thing they think is a fundraiser. It ends up being a giant interview that Tate blindsided him with, that Councilman Tate blindsided him with, and wants to be all about Raina. So he gets him on stage, and Ghost has a little thing, but Tasha kills it. She goes full board. She got all her aggression out. She needed that, but she's still pissed as heck afterwards, but she needed to get that aggression out, and that was good for her. She gets pissed at Ghost afterwards, obviously, and he goes after Councilman Tate, and tries to school him, but he's like, look, man, it's all good, everything's gonna be great. So that ain't working. After that, out of nowhere, in a small scene that you don't realize it, Ghost tries to go and see Jimenez, but when he goes to see Jimenez, Drake cuts him before that, and he never gets to see him. So you see a little quick moment of Ghost doing that. But the next time we really see Ghost is at the end. He's drunk dialing Angela. He's all messed up. He's got the bottle in him. He's driving around. And I remember the story where the guy's telling about how his young, I don't remember if it was son or daughter, I'm mistaken about that, was killed by a drunk driver. And the guy watches the guy that did it every day get a bottle from that same liquor store and then drive home drunk. So, of course, Ghost, going full Ghost now, goes and sees the dude get a bottle and start walking, and Ghost just rolls up on him. And because Ghost can't kill Ray Ray anymore, and his daughter is gone, and he's got all that pain, I feel like he feels like almost vigilante Batman-esque style, and he just ruthlessly, mercifully just stabs this man to death. I mean, he does it with all intentions. And this is definitely something that's going to be a bigger thing for this season, where Ghost is losing control because his house is out of order. So, man, that was a lot going on in episode 2, folks. Woo! Alright, so I hope you guys caught all that. That's my recap review. I'll be doing it like this going forward until they shrink these lines down, and then we can just do the overall story and everything. But there's episode 2. Come join me next week for episode 3. Until next time, folks. Good night, Ted.